The small alien medical station floated silently above the blue-green planet of Vorin. Its walls gleamed under the artificial lights, and strange machines hummed softly, monitoring the vital signs of alien patients. The station was known across the sector for its skilled doctors, who could heal even the rarest diseases and injuries. But today, none of them were prepared for what was about to arrive. A loud metallic crash echoed through the docking bay. The alarm lights blinked red, and the medics rushed out expecting a minor shuttle accident. But when the doors opened fully, the scene froze them in place. A human stepped through the wreckage. He was tall, muscular, and clearly in pain, but he walked. Slowly, yes, but steadily. Blood streaked his white tunic, and his arms hung at odd angles. Bones that should have been shattered seemed to hold together, as if defying every known rule of biology. The station's lead surgeon, Dr. Creel, a six-limbed Varinian with pale green skin, tilted his head. His mandibles clicked in confusion. "What is that?" he whispered. "He is alive?" asked Dr. Yara, another doctor, her eyes wide. She had treated many severe injuries, but nothing like this. Captain Ethan Riker of Earth's Exploration Corps limped into the medbay. His breathing was heavy but steady. One arm was twisted at an unnatural angle, a leg bent wrong, ribs uneven under a blood-stained tunic. The medics exchanged frantic glances. 17 broken bones. That was the total they calculated within moments. 17! No creature they knew could survive that. Ethan stopped in the center of the room, leaning heavily on a crutch he had grabbed from the shuttle. "I need medical assistance," he said calmly, his voice steady despite the pain. Dr. Creel swallowed hard. "How is this possible?" he asked, his voice trembling. "Even if the human anatomy allows for some recovery, 17 broken bones at once, survival is improbable." Ethan smiled faintly. "I survived worse." His words were quiet but firm. There was no arrogance, only a calm certainty that unsettled the alien doctors. Dr. Yara stepped forward, her long fingers trembling. "Please lie down. You cannot walk like this. We need to stabilize you." Ethan shook his head. "I can manage." And he moved again, taking slow steps toward the treatment table. Each movement made a faint crack echo in the medbay. The aliens flinched instinctively, unsure if they should intervene. Dr. Creel approached cautiously. "Captain, we have treatments, medical injectors, bone stimulators. You must accept help immediately or you will collapse." Ethan glanced at the doctors. His eyes were sharp, steady, and piercing. "I know your machines work, but I am not like your patients. My body heals differently." The room fell silent. A few junior medics whispered among themselves, recording the scene with wide eyes. Humans were known to be resilient, but what they were seeing defied comprehension. Dr. Yara studied him closely. "Different? How?" Ethan chuckled softly, a sound of dry humor under his pain. "You'll see. But first we fix the broken bones." He gingerly lowered himself onto the treatment table, careful not to cause more damage. The aliens prepared their advanced healing instruments, unsure if they were dealing with a miracle or an impossible patient. As the alien machines activated, lights flickered across Ethan's body. Bones realigned, bruises faded, and swelling reduced faster than any Varinian technology predicted. The medics leaned closer, unable to look away. Dr. Creel's mandibles clicked nervously. How is this happening?" he muttered. "Our stimulators cannot accelerate regeneration this fast. Nothing in the medical records. Nothing like this exists." Ethan gave a faint smile, his voice calm. "Humans adapt. We survive. Our bodies learn to endure. You cannot mimic it with machines alone." One young intern, barely out of training, dared to ask, "You survived a crash that broke 17 bones. And you're telling us this is normal?" Ethan shook his head. "Not normal, but not impossible. Humans have been living on death worlds for thousands of years. Harsh conditions make survival a skill." The intern blinked in disbelief. "Death worlds?" "Yes," Ethan said. "Planets where everything wants to kill you, storms, wildlife, gravity, heat. We survived. And we adapted." The medics exchanged anxious glances. No alien had ever lived on a death world. Their colonies were carefully selected for safety and comfort. Humans apparently thrived in environments designed to destroy life. Dr. Yara finally spoke, her voice tinged with awe. "You are incredible." Ethan shrugged lightly. "I'm just human. Now please, let's focus on fixing the damage. Hours passed in the medbay. Bones clicked into place and bruises faded under alien treatment. Still, Ethan remained awake, observing the process, answering questions, and calmly enduring the pain. The alien doctors were amazed not just by his physiology but by his patience and mental strength. At one point, a particularly skeptical medic asked, "How can you endure this?" "Your body should be screaming in agony." Ethan's eyes met the aliens. "Pain is temporary. Survival lasts longer. Fear is temporary. Courage lasts longer. Humans, we endure. That is how we survive." By the time the night cycle ended, Ethan's broken bones were largely stabilized. He could move, albeit with effort, and no infection had set in despite the severity of his injuries. The alien doctors were left in stunned silence. Dr. Creel finally broke the silence. I need to report this. Human biology. It is impossible. Our records are meaningless now. We cannot categorize your species with what we know." Ethan nodded. "You will learn. Humans are different, yes, but we are survivors, and one day you may see just how far that can go." As Ethan rested, the alien medics huddled together, whispering and debating. They had seen brave soldiers, daring pilots, and explorers before, but none had survived this much trauma, walked into a medical station, and simply endured. A young intern finally voiced what they all felt. "We underestimated humans." Dr. Creel's mandibles clicked in agreement. "Not underestimated. Perhaps we had no idea what they were capable of." Outside the medbay, the stars shone cold and distant. Ethan had arrived broken, battered, and almost dead. But even in his state, he radiated a quiet strength. Alien doctors stared, horrified not just by his injuries but by the human will that had brought him through them. And in that silence, one truth became clear. Humans were not fragile. Humans were not weak. Humans survived even when the odds said they could not. The station would never forget this day. A human had walked into their world, broken in 17 places, and yet had emerged unbroken in spirit. And for the first time, the aliens realized that survival was not just a measure of technology, medicine, or biology, but of something far stronger, the human spirit. The medbay on Voron Station was quieter now, but the tension had not left the air. Captain Ethan Riker rested on the recovery table, his body stabilizing after the miraculous work of the alien doctors. Yet the room was far from calm. Machines hummed, lights blinked softly, and the alien staff whispered in clusters, unable to believe what they had witnessed. Dr. Creel, the lead surgeon, paced in front of the large observation window. He stared at the human, whose chest rose and fell steadily despite the shattered ribs he had carried hours earlier. "I still do not understand," he muttered, clicking his mandibles. 18 or 17 broken bones, and he survives. Not only survives, but he endures with minimal support. Dr. Yara approached cautiously, holding a small holopad with Ethan's vital readings. Her wide lavender eyes were fixed on the numbers, but the more she watched, the less sense it made. "Look at this," she whispered. "Heart rate stable. Respiratory rate normal. No shock. No sign of organ failure. How is this possible?" Ethan lifted his head slightly, turning his sharp blue eyes toward her. "I told you," he said, voice calm. "Humans are built to endure. You don't have the same kind of stressors in your environment. We survive by learning to handle what should kill us." The aliens looked at each other in disbelief. Survival, in their understanding, was a combination of advanced technology and favorable biology. Nothing had prepared them for a species that could endure impossible injuries without fainting, breaking, or dying. Dr. Creel finally stopped pacing. "Your body, it heals in ways we cannot replicate. Your bones, they realign faster than our stimulators can account for. Your immune response, it is extraordinary. Do humans naturally possess this?" Ethan smiled faintly, wincing as he shifted slightly on the table. "Nature doesn't give us easy lives. On Earth, humans evolved on a planet that could kill you in 100 different ways. Harsh winters, deadly wildlife, strong storms, earthquakes. Every challenge makes the weak perish, and the survivors become stronger." Dr. Yara tilted her head. "And your species? Just adapted?" Ethan nodded. "Exactly. Strength isn't just physical, it's mental. Pain is temporary. Survival is permanent. We adapt to the impossible and keep moving." The young intern who had been observing everything spoke up again. barely able to hide their awe.
Captain Riker.
Do you feel fear? Or does the pain not reach your mind? Ethan's lips curved into a small grin. Fear exists, pain exists, but humans, we train ourselves to act anyway. Survival doesn't wait for comfort. Survival waits for action. The alien doctors shared uneasy glances. Their entire understanding of life, resilience, and survival was being challenged. They had read of extreme human explorers and soldiers, but none had ever survived injuries like this without advanced medical intervention. And here was proof that humans might not even need it. Hours passed. The alien medical team monitored Ethan constantly, their instruments capturing data on his healing, metabolism, and immune function. Every time they checked, the numbers seemed to contradict logic. Fractured bones were knitting together, bruises were fading, and even his torn muscles showed early signs of repair. What kind of stimulus triggers this? Dr. Creel muttered under his breath. Is it stress? Is it adrenaline, or something else entirely? Ethan chuckled softly. You can study my body all you want. It won't teach you everything. Survival is more than medicine. It's instinct, training, and experience. Machines can't replicate instinct. Dr. Yara stepped closer, her curiosity overriding her caution. Tell me, Captain, how did you survive the crash? Were you alone? Ethan's expression darkened slightly. The shuttle hit a storm in the outer rim of the planet. Gravity shifts, magnetic interference, turbulence that would tear most craft apart. I was the only survivor. I had to pull myself out through fire and debris, climb to the surface, and stop myself from bleeding out. Every step hurt. Every breath was a struggle. And yet I moved, one step at a time. That's how humans survive. We keep moving. Dr. Creel's mandibles clicked sharply, a sign of both amazement and disbelief. No creature in our records could survive that. And yet you did it. Walking, speaking, coordinating your treatment. Extraordinary. Ethan shrugged. Extraordinary? Maybe for you. For me, it's just survival. Pain is temporary. Humans endure. As the night progressed, a small group of alien interns began taking detailed notes. They measured his healing rates, recorded his vitals, and even observed his pain tolerance. One intern whispered to another, "We have underestimated this species entirely." Meanwhile, Ethan's mind drifted briefly to the crew he had lost in the crash. He had survived, yes, but the memory of their screams and the burning shuttle haunted him. Survival had its cost, but in the human way, he focused on what came next. Survival was not just about living. It was about using the strength you had left to act when needed. The medbay's doors opened suddenly, and Dr. Creel motioned for silence. "Captain, we need to ask you something," he said, his voice tight with curiosity. "Do you know your limits? Is there any injury that would stop a human?" Ethan's eyes glinted with faint amusement. "Limits? Sure, humans can die. Humans can break. But we rarely stop at what should stop us. My body has limits, but my mind doesn't. And in survival, the mind is what counts." Dr. Yara frowned, trying to reconcile the human's calm demeanor with the severity of his injuries. "You speak as if pain is nothing." Ethan's gaze softened. "Pain is nothing compared to giving up. Humans feel pain, but we act anyway. You call it extraordinary. I call it necessary. The aliens had no words for this. Their species relied on perfect healing protocols, drugs, and technology to maintain life. Humans relied on instinct, training, and sheer determination. And here was proof that this approach worked, even when the odds were impossible. Late into the night, Ethan's healing progressed faster than expected. The alien medical team observed every twitch of muscle, every slight shift of a bone, and every heartbeat. They began speculating. Perhaps humans were not just survivors. They were biological anomalies in the galaxy, capable of enduring the impossible. A young intern finally spoke, almost in awe. "If humans can survive 17 broken bones and recover without advanced treatment, what else can they endure?" Dr. Creel clicked his mandibles, considering the question. "We may never know. But one thing is certain. Our understanding of life, resilience, and survival is incomplete. This human, Captain Riker, is rewriting what we thought possible." Ethan leaned back slightly, tired but composed. "I've faced worse. You will see humans can endure far more than you imagine. Survive, adapt, and move forward. That is the human way." As dawn approached on Vorin, the alien medics continued their work, but their conversations had changed. Instead of murmurs of disbelief, they whispered questions about humans, resilience, and survival. For the first time, they realized that survival was not just a measure of technology or biology. It was a measure of the mind and spirit. Captain Ethan Riker, broken in body but unbroken in spirit, had arrived like a storm in their orderly world. The aliens stared at him, horrified not just by his injuries, but by the way he had survived them. By the time the day cycle began, a small crowd of alien scientists had gathered, eager to witness this human miracle. Ethan, quiet and observant, had become the center of attention, not because he demanded it, but because survival itself had made him extraordinary. Dr. Creel finally addressed the group. Observe carefully. Take notes. Humans are not like any species we have encountered. Their survival instincts, their resilience, it is beyond our calculations. Today, Captain Riker teaches us the first lesson. Biology alone does not define survival. Ethan smiled faintly at the words, wincing as he shifted slightly. You will learn more. But remember this, the human body is tough. And the human spirit is tougher. Pain, injuries, disasters, they are tests. Humans endure no matter the cost, and with that, the alien medics returned to their instruments, recording, observing, and quietly realizing that the galaxy was about to witness a new truth. Humans were not just a species. They were the ultimate survivors. The calm of Orin Station was shattered the next morning. An urgent alert blared through the corridors, red lights flashing. The station's sensors had detected a massive asteroid drifting toward a nearby civilian settlement. If it hit, thousands of lives would be lost. The alien medics and engineers scrambled. Panic rippled through the station's staff. Their ships were advanced, but none were capable of reaching the settlement in time to evacuate or divert the asteroid. Fear hung in the air. Captain Ethan Riker, still recovering from his broken bones, had been observing the chaos quietly. His body was not yet fully healed, but his mind was alert, sharp, and already calculating options. He rose slowly from the med bay, steadying himself on his crutch, and surveyed the room. Dr. Creel noticed him moving. Captain, you cannot pilot a ship in your condition. You are injured, your body. Ethan cut him off, voice calm but firm. I am the best option you have. No one else can react fast enough. I will go. The room fell silent. Piloting an asteroid intercept mission required speed, precision, and split-second decision-making. Even fully healthy aliens feared attempting such a feat. And yet, here was a human with 17 broken bones, volunteering to save thousands. Dr. Yara stepped forward, concern evident. Captain, this is madness. You might not survive. Ethan shrugged lightly, wincing at the motion. I survive. That's what humans do. We act when others cannot. Do what needs to be done, no matter the risk. The engineers hesitated, unsure if it was bravery or recklessness. But time was running out. With no better option, they prepared a small, underpowered interceptor ship. It was a fragile craft by human standards, but it was all the station could spare. Ethan approached the ship slowly, his movements calculated. Every step made a soft click as broken bones shifted painfully, but he ignored the discomfort. The aliens watched, some in horror, some in awe. Even in pain, he radiated calm determination. Inside the cockpit, Ethan assessed the controls quickly. They were alien systems, unfamiliar yet intuitive for a mind trained in improvisation. He adjusted settings, ran simulations in seconds, and plotted a trajectory toward the asteroid and the settlement. Captain, wait. One of the engineers shouted. You're too injured. Ethan's hand rested on the console. If I do not go, thousands die. Humans act despite fear, pain, and injury. Now is the time. With a deep breath, he fired the engines. The small ship lifted off the docking bay, wobbling slightly under its load. The aliens monitored from the station, holding their breath. The journey was perilous. The asteroid was large and spinning erratically. Sensors warned of gravitational anomalies, debris fields, and intense heat from friction in the atmosphere. Every move required precision. One wrong calculation, and the ship and its pilot would be destroyed instantly. Ethan gritted his teeth, muscles straining with the effort. Broken ribs jabbed painfully with each movement. One arm ached with every adjustment, but his mind remained clear. His body might scream in protest, but his mind was calm, focused. Survival demanded focus, not surrender. The asteroid loomed larger in the viewport. Its surface was jagged, irregular, a floating death machine. Ethan calculated the trajectory. lining up the ship with precise accuracy. He activated the ship's minimal weapons array, small ion beams designed to nudge the asteroid's path. The alien engineers gasped as the first shot connected. The asteroid shifted slightly, but it was not enough. Ethan continued, timing each shot with meticulous precision, adjusting his course to account for debris and gravitational pull. His body shook with effort, but he did not falter. "Impossible," muttered one of the young interns. "He's adjusting faster than the computers can calculate." Ethan's voice came over the ship's comm. "Stay calm. I've got this." His tone was steady, commanding, and somehow comforting, even as he worked under immense pain. Minutes stretched into eternity. The asteroid's trajectory inched closer to the settlement. Any miscalculation would mean disaster, yet Ethan remained composed. He adjusted angles, fired ion beams, and calculated momentum with speed no alien pilot could match. Finally, the asteroid shifted enough. Its path diverted just enough to miss the settlement. The humans watching from the station cheered silently, their relief muted by awe at the display of courage and skill. Ethan's ship rocked violently as he returned through the debris field, engines straining under the stress. His body protested loudly, a chorus of pain that no alien could ignore. Yet he gritted his teeth, guiding the ship back to the station. When the small interceptor docked, the aliens rushed to meet him. They had expected a human survivor, but not one capable of this. His body was battered, his uniform torn and bloodied, yet he stood tall, unwavering. Dr. Creel finally spoke, his voice trembling with awe. "Captain, you saved them. Despite your injuries, your body should have failed." Ethan shook his head slightly, a small grin forming despite his exhaustion. "Pain is temporary. The lives of others are worth it. Humans endure, and we act when others cannot." The alien stared in disbelief, not just at the act itself, but at the calm, calculated courage of a being who should have been incapacitated. They had expected panic, screaming, or collapse. Instead, they witnessed control, skill, and a resilience that defied logic. Dr. Yara stepped closer, examining Ethan carefully. "Your body, your injuries, you should be in critical condition, and yet, you acted faster than anyone here could." Ethan exhaled slowly. "Survival isn't about comfort. It's about action. Humans do what must be done, even when every part of the body says no. That is how we survive. That is how we thrive," the young interns whispered among themselves. "Humans are not just strong. They are unstoppable under pressure." Dr. Creel nodded slowly. "It is not just your body, Captain. It is your mind. Strategy, calmness, precision, all while enduring pain no being should bear. You have shown us a new form of strength." Ethan smiled faintly. "You will see more. Humans are tenacious. We survive in impossible conditions, and when survival is required, we do not hesitate." For the next few hours, Ethan remained in the med bay, his body slowly stabilizing. The aliens continued to monitor him, their instruments recording every detail. They marveled not only at the rapid healing, but at the mental fortitude that allowed him to act decisively under extreme stress. A young intern finally voiced the thought that had been growing in all their minds. "Captain, humans are not just survivors, they are heroes by instinct." Ethan shook his head, wincing slightly. "Not heroes. Just humans. We endure, adapt, and act. That's all. If you understand that, you understand us." The alien doctors nodded silently. They had observed courage in their own species, bravery in soldiers, daring in pilots, but nothing like this. Humans were a new kind of life form, capable of endurance and action that defied logic and expectation. By the time the day cycle ended, Ethan's actions had sparked a change among the station staff. Fear and hesitation were replaced by admiration and curiosity. Humans were no longer a species to study from a distance. They were a force to be reckoned with, a model of resilience and an example of courage under pressure. Outside the station, the stars glittered cold and indifferent, but inside, alien medics whispered excitedly, taking notes and recalculating what they knew about life, survival, and strength. Captain Ethan Riker, broken in body but unbroken in spirit, had proven that humans were something extraordinary. He had walked into their world with 17 broken bones. He had faced impossible odds, piloted a fragile ship, and saved thousands. And in doing so, he had taught the aliens a lesson they would never forget. Human courage and resilience are as strong as any technology, weapon, or strategy in the galaxy. The hum of Voron's station was no longer just the sound of machines. It was the hum of curiosity. Ever since Captain Ethan Riker had arrived, broken but unbowed, the alien staff had been obsessed. They could not stop talking about his survival, his endurance, and his ability to act decisively under pain. For the first time in their careers, their studies had a new purpose: understanding humans. Ethan rested on a recovery cot in the medbay, his body healing steadily, but his mind was alert, always observing. He had grown accustomed to the stares of the Vorinian doctors and interns. At first, their awe had been almost comical, but now he sensed genuine respect and at times fear. Humans, he realized, inspired more than admiration. They caused others to question their assumptions. Dr. Creel, the lead surgeon, approached with a small team of researchers. "Captain Riker," he said cautiously, "your physiology, it is exceptional. Your bone healing, your immune system, your endurance, nothing in our records compares. We must study you further. Please permit us to conduct controlled tests." Ethan tilted his head, considering the request. "Tests are fine as long as I decide the limits. Humans do not perform well under unnecessary stress, but I will help, so you understand us better." The medics prepared a series of non-invasive procedures first. Vital signs, bone density scans, muscle recovery analysis, and metabolic readings, all monitored with precision. Every result confounded the aliens. Ethan's broken bones had fused faster than expected. His muscles were repairing themselves at an accelerated rate, and his immune response was remarkably aggressive but perfectly controlled. Dr. Yara studied the holographic displays, eyes wide. "Captain, your body, it is almost like a self-repairing machine. But unlike our machines, it adapts. It learns from trauma and responds instantly. How is this possible?" Ethan leaned back on the cot, calm but direct. "It is not magic. It is evolution. Humans evolved on Earth under conditions that would destroy most life. Extreme weather, predators, accidents. Survival was never easy. Our bodies and minds adapted to endure." Dr. Creel tapped the holographic panel thoughtfully. "So, humans trained for survival and evolution shaped the body to withstand trauma beyond expectation?" Ethan nodded. "Exactly. And training is just as important as biology. Mental resilience allows humans to ignore fear and pain long enough to act. Physical healing is nothing without the will to survive." A young intern, barely out of training, asked the question the others had all been thinking. "Captain, do humans ever fail? Do you ever die from injuries like this?" Ethan smiled faintly, wincing slightly as he shifted. "We do, we fail sometimes. But most humans, if they survive the first shock, will keep fighting. That is the difference. Survival is not about avoiding damage. It is about refusing to give up no matter the cost." The interns exchanged awed glances. In their species, survival often meant technology, comfort, and careful planning. Here was a being who survived extreme trauma by sheer determination and instinct. Over the next days, Ethan participated in various controlled simulations. They were gentle. Nothing that would cause real harm, but enough to measure reflexes, decision-making under stress, and adaptability. Each exercise proved one thing: humans were unpredictable, ingenious, and resilient in ways aliens could not replicate. One test involved a simulated accident scenario. A holographic shuttle was damaged, lights flashing, alarms ringing. Ethan had to react immediately to save a virtual crew. He calculated angles, used minimal energy, and executed a flawless rescue, all while his broken arm still throbbed and his leg ached. Dr. Creel stared at the simulation's result. No alien could have completed that task with even half the efficiency. Humans, they compensate for injury with intelligence and speed. Ethan shrugged lightly. Pain slows you down, but it does not stop humans. Our minds do the heavy lifting when bodies are limited. The experiments continued. Aliens attempted to replicate human training methods, using endurance exercises, meditation, and pain adaptation techniques. They quickly discovered that machines and protocols could not mimic the human way. Humans relied on improvisation, instinct, and rapid problem-solving under extreme conditions. Dr. Yara finally spoke aloud what the team had been whispering for days. "Captain, humans are more than biology. You combine survival instinct, intelligence, and adaptability in a way that defies our logic. You endure injury, act decisively under pressure, and recover faster than any species we know. It is extraordinary. Ethan leaned forward slightly. Extraordinary, perhaps. But this is what humans do. We survive. We adapt, we act. That is all. You can study us forever and learn some things, but the essence, our will to endure, is not something you can replicate with machines or medicine. The interns nodded silently, taking detailed notes. Some whispered among themselves, clearly inspired. One young Varinian said, "If humans can survive 17 broken bones, what else can they do?" That question hung in the air, unspoken but understood. Humans were more than explorers. They were unpredictable forces capable of turning near death into triumph. Ethan noticed the change in the room. The medics, once skeptical and horrified, now treated him with respect and curiosity. They no longer saw him as a fragile patient. They saw him as a teacher. Humans were not just another species. They were models of resilience, courage, and adaptability. Dr. Creel finally addressed the team. "Observe carefully. Study, record, and understand. Humans are not only physically resilient, they are mentally formidable. They endure pain, recover quickly, and act decisively when others hesitate. Captain Riker teaches us that survival is not just a matter of biology, it is a matter of spirit." Ethan smiled faintly, adjusting his posture. "You will see more. Humans thrive under pressure, not just survive. That is the lesson I leave with you. When survival is required, we act. We do not wait for conditions to be perfect. We do what is necessary." Days turned into a week. The aliens continued their study, observing Ethan's recovery and learning from his approach to challenges. Even simple daily tasks like climbing stairs or carrying supplies became lessons in endurance, mental focus, and ingenuity. Every small action demonstrated the human ability to adapt and overcome, no matter the obstacle. One evening, Dr. Yara approached Ethan privately. "Captain, I do not think we will ever fully understand humans. Your body, your mind, your spirit, it is beyond our calculations." Ethan leaned back, tired but composed. "You will understand the basics. But the essence, the will to endure, that is something humans experience deeply. It cannot be fully explained, only witnessed and practiced." She nodded slowly, taking in his words. "We are lucky to have met you. You have taught us more than we could have imagined. Not just about humans, but about courage, resilience, and determination." Ethan's gaze softened. "That is all I hoped for. Humans survive because we must, and when we do, we inspire others to see the impossible as possible." Meanwhile, the young interns whispered excitedly among themselves. Some debated whether their species could ever match humans. Others simply took notes, eager to record every detail for future study. Across the station, the story of Captain Riker, the human who survived 17 broken bones, spread like wildfire. By the end of the week, even the most skeptical alien doctors had changed. They no longer saw humans as fragile beings who needed protection. Instead, they saw a species capable of thriving under conditions that would destroy nearly anything else in the galaxy. And through it all, Ethan remained humble, quiet, and watchful. He did not boast. He did not demand respect. Yet every action, every calm response under observation, every thoughtful explanation left no doubt. Humans were extraordinary not because of strength alone, but because of their combination of body, mind, and spirit. As the day cycle ended on Vorin, Ethan rested in the medbay, watching the alien staff continue their research. He knew they would study humans for years and still not fully grasp the depth of their resilience. But he also knew that he had planted a seed of understanding that humans were not just survivors, but teachers of courage, ingenuity, and endurance. The artificial sunrise of Vorin Station bathed the medical bay in soft golden light. Machines hummed quietly, scanning, recording, analyzing. But the focus of every pair of eyes was the same: Captain Ethan Riker. Weeks had passed since his arrival. 17 broken bones had become a story of recovery that defied every law of biology known to the aliens. His bones had fused perfectly, his muscles rebuilt themselves faster than any simulation predicted, and his spirit had never faltered. Now, for the first time since he was carried and bleeding and broken, Ethan stood upright without support. The alien doctors and interns gathered near the observation glass, silent and awed. For them, this was not just medicine, it was witnessing something close to legend. Dr. Creel stepped forward, his voice quiet with respect. Captain Riker, your body has healed completely. Against all predictions, you are cleared for duty. Ethan nodded with a faint smile. His uniform hung neatly beside the bed, freshly cleaned and repaired. He touched the fabric slowly, as if remembering what it meant to wear it. I appreciate it, Doctor. Your team has done well. Dr. Yara, who had been recording every detail of his recovery, spoke next. Captain, before you leave, may we ask one final question? Ethan raised an eyebrow. Of course. Yara hesitated, searching for words. You endured pain that would kill most species. You recovered faster than our advanced medicine thought possible. How? Is it training? Instinct? Or something else? Ethan thought for a long moment before answering. It's not just training or biology. It's any purpose. Humans fight for something beyond themselves. Family, friends, home. Even when broken, we think of what we must protect. That gives strength that pain can't take away. The aliens looked at him silently. For a moment, the room felt heavier, as if they understood that this human strength came from something they had never needed to develop. Departure. Preparations. Outside the medbay, the docking area buzzed with activity. A small Terran transport had arrived to pick up the captain. Its hull bore scratches and burn marks, proof that even machines serving humans carried scars of survival. Ethan walked slowly through the corridor, each step steady, but careful. The Voran staff followed at a respectful distance, their eyes reflecting admiration and curiosity. For many of them, this was the first time they had seen a human move freely after such severe trauma. Dr. Creel spoke softly to his assistant. Observe him. His movement is still limited, but look at his posture. No hesitation, no weakness. The assistant nodded, recording data. He walks as if he never fell. They reached the hangar bay. The Terran crew, dressed in simple Navy uniforms, saluted sharply as Ethan approached. One of them, a young woman named Lieutenant Mara Quinn, smiled proudly. Captain Riker, sir. The ship's ready for departure. Earth Command sends its regards and congratulations on surviving another impossible situation. Ethan chuckled. Tell Command I'll send them the bill. The aliens blinked in confusion. They still didn't understand human humor, but they knew it carried something powerful, a lightness even in dark moments. The gift of knowledge. Before he could board, Dr. Yara approached with a small crystal data core. Captain, she said, holding it carefully. This contains all we learned about human resilience, our tests, scans, and reports, but also, she hesitated, then smiled softly, our admiration. We have included our observations, not just data. Ethan accepted the data core. I'll make sure it reaches our medical command. It might help our own scientists too. Creel stepped forward. Captain Riker, before you go, know this. You have changed how our people see humans. We once thought your kind fragile, reckless, perhaps too emotional. But now, his eyes glowed faintly with sincerity. Now we understand that humans are not reckless, they are driven. And your emotion, they give you strength no science can replicate. Ethan nodded, humbled. I didn't come here to change minds, but if I did, then I'm glad. Maybe our species can learn from each other. The Voran bowed their heads slightly, a sign of deep respect. Last words before leaving. Inside the shuttle, the engines began to hum. Ethan paused at the open ramp, turning to face the alien doctors one last time. His expression was calm, but his eyes carried quiet power. You saved my life, he said, and I thank you. But remember this. Humans don't survive because we're stronger or smarter. We survive because we refuse to stop fighting. Whatever happens in this galaxy, don't forget that. The ramp began to close, but before it sealed, Yara called out, Captain. One day when our people face something impossible, we'll remember your words. Ethan gave a small smile. Good. Then my time here was worth it. The hatch sealed shut with a soft hiss. Moments later, the Terran shuttle lifted off, engines glowing blue as it exited the docking bay and disappeared into the void. Aftermath. The legend spreads back in the medbay. The alien doctors replayed the holo footage of Ethan's recovery. They watched the moment he first stood, the calm way he spoke of pain and the way he carried himself when leaving. Dr. Creel stood silently for a while, then spoke to the group. You've all witnessed something few will ever see, a human's full recovery from extreme trauma. But more important than his body's strength was his will. His mind never broke. Study that, understand it, and remember it. An intern whispered, "Do you think we could ever be like that?" Yara replied softly, "Maybe not. But we can learn to be stronger because of them." The team began to compile what they called the Riker Report, a detailed record of the human body's limits, resilience, and spirit. The document would later spread far beyond Vorin Station. Other alien species would read it and wonder, if a single human can endure this much, what would humanity do if truly tested? And slowly, the galaxy began to see humans differently, no longer as fragile newcomers or unpredictable explorers, but as survivors, builders, and defenders capable of turning pain into progress. Ethan's quiet return aboard the shuttle. Ethan sat near the viewport, watching stars streak past. The quiet hum of the engines was soothing. His bones still ached, but it was a familiar pain, one that reminded him he was alive. Lieutenant Mara approached. "Sir, Medical Command wants your report when we dock." He smiled. "I'll tell them the truth. The aliens saved my life. And in return, I taught them what a human life really means." She grinned. "I bet they'll write songs about you, Captain." Ethan chuckled. Songs fade, lessons last. He closed his eyes, letting the rhythm of the ship carry him into light sleep. For him, this wasn't victory. It was just another day of doing what humans do best: endure, heal, and move forward. Legacy on Vorin Station. Months later, deep inside Vorin Station, the story of the human who survived 17 broken bones became part of their academy training. Holograms replayed his recovery for medical students. His words, recorded and translated, were quoted in lectures. Humans don't survive because we are stronger. We survive because we refuse to stop. Doctors from other systems visited Vorin to study the Riker phenomenon. Every one of them left the station changed, realizing something vital, that humans were more than a biological curiosity. They were a force of nature, driven, emotional, flawed, but unstoppable. And whenever a Vorinian medic faced a dying patient or a desperate situation, they whispered a small phrase that had become famous across their culture. "Remember the human." Final scene back on Earth. Months later, Captain Riker stood in front of a massive viewport in the orbital fleet headquarters. Earth glowed blue and bright below him. The world looked peaceful, unaware that somewhere far away, aliens were now telling stories of the man who refused to break. He smiled quietly. "If they remember us as survivors," he said to himself, "then maybe we've done our job." Behind him, a young recruit saluted. "Captain, sir, Command says your report changed several alliances. The Vorin are asking for a joint medical exchange with Earth." Ethan nodded. "Good. Maybe that's how peace starts. Not with war, but with understanding." He looked once more at the stars, thinking of the alien doctors who had once stared in horror when he arrived broken and bleeding. He imagined them now, stronger, wiser, inspired. The galaxy would remember what it learned that day. When humans fall, they rise again. When they break, they rebuild.